Las Vegas uses less water today than it did in 1993. The city added almost 900,000 people in that time. It recycles 99% of every drop that goes down a drain, rips out 7 square miles of grass, and built a billion-dollar tunnel under Lake Mead that can pump water even if the lake drops to levels that would shut off every other city in the Southwest. And none of that is going to be enough, because the river Las Vegas depends on is 4 million acre-feet short every single year. So why is a city that did everything right still in trouble, and who exactly rigged the system that put it there? Lake Mead sits at roughly 1,060 feet above sea level right now. In April 2026, that is 33% full. The lake peaked in early March at 1,066 feet, then dropped more than 6 feet in a single month. It is 5 feet lower than the same date last year and 14 feet lower than 2024. The reason is snowpack. The mountains that feed the Colorado River got almost nothing this winter. Upper Colorado Basin snowpack fell to 5.5 inches of snow water content. That is 40% of normal. Colorado's statewide snowpack dropped to roughly 29% of average. The April through July water flow forecast for Lake Powell, the lake upstream that feeds Lake Mead, stands at 1,750,000 acre-feet, 27% of normal. Current forecasts show Lake Mead reaching a new all-time record low of about 1,032 feet by November 2027. That would be nearly 10 feet below the old record set in July 2022. And every updated forecast this year has moved the number lower, not higher. That is the situation 2,400,000 people in the Las Vegas Valley are waking up to every morning. 90% of their water comes from this one lake. This is where the story stops being about Las Vegas and starts being about math. The Colorado River is split among 7 states, Mexico, and 30 tribal nations under a legal deal that dates back to 1922. Total paper shares on the river add up to 16.5 million acre-feet per year. The actual river puts out roughly 12.5 million. That is a gap of 4 million acre-feet every single year baked into the legal setup of the system. The people who wrote the 1922 deal used water flow data from what turned out to be one of the wettest periods in over 1,000 years. They guessed the river's output too high by roughly 30%. And every gallon handed out since then has been based on water that does not exist. Nevada got 300,000 acre-feet per year in that deal, the smallest share of any state, less than 2% of the total. In 1922, Nevada's desert was seen as forever empty. The people at the table focused on locking in a share of electric power from Hoover Dam instead. Today, that 300,000 acre-feet has to support a metro area of nearly 2.5 million people, plus 40 million yearly tourists on the Las Vegas Strip. 300,000 acre-feet. That number is going to keep coming back. So who got the water Nevada did not? California's Imperial Irrigation District holds 3.1 million acre-feet. That is more than 10 times Nevada's entire share. And the Imperial Irrigation District's rights carry a 1901 priority date, making them older than nearly every other claim on the river. Under the current shortage rules, California faces no forced cuts until Lake Mead drops below 1,045 feet. Arizona gets cut first at every level. Nevada gets cut second. California, the biggest user in the lower basin, is legally shielded. The result right now, in 2026, is a Tier 1 shortage. Arizona loses 512,000 acre-feet, roughly 18% of its share. Nevada loses 21,000 acre-feet. California loses nothing. And what is all that protected California water being used for? Across the Colorado River Basin, farming takes roughly 74% of all direct human water use. About 10 million acre-feet per year. Alfalfa and cattle feed crops alone take 5 to 6 million acre-feet each year, more than every city, factory, and business on the river combined. In the Imperial Valley, a single acre of alfalfa needs 5 to 6 acre-feet of water per year in a region that gets 3 inches of rain. 1/3 of the Imperial Irrigation District's farmland grows alfalfa. That is 85,000 acres, using at least 400,000 acre-feet of Colorado River water every year for one crop in one valley. 400,000 acre-feet, more than Nevada's total share, used to grow hay. The version of this story that made national news came out of Arizona. A company called Fondomonte Arizona, a branch of Saudi Arabia's largest dairy company, Almarai, had been renting over 6,000 acres of Arizona state land at $25 per acre. The deal came with unlimited groundwater pumping rights. Fondomonte grew alfalfa, packed it into bales, and shipped it back to Saudi Arabia to feed dairy cows. Saudi Arabia had banned growing alfalfa at home in 2018 because the crop was draining its own underground water. So the kingdom moved the problem to Arizona instead. The deal drew fury from Arizona's own Attorney General. Governor Katie Hobbs canceled the state leases in late 2023. All state land leases ran out by February 2024. But Fondomonte still owns roughly 10,000 acres of private land near Vicksburg, Arizona, where work continues. A United Arab Emirates-owned company, Al Dara, farms another 3,000 acres nearby. The state leases ended. The water use did not. And that is just one corner of one state on a river that stretches 1,500 miles. So, what is Las Vegas actually doing about all of this? The answer is everything it can think of, and the list is longer than most people know. The main piece is the third straw. Intake number 3, paired with the low lake level pumping station, adds up to $1.4 billion in hardware sitting under the floor of Lake Mead. The intake pulls water from roughly 860 feet, well below the lake's dead pool level of 895 feet. Dead pool is the point where water can no longer flow through Hoover Dam on its own. The dam's power turbines go dark. Water shipments to Arizona, California, and Mexico stop completely. 25 million people downstream lose access. Las Vegas is the only lower basin user that pulls water from above the dam straight from the lake. Everyone else pulls from the river below the dam. If Lake Mead hits dead pool, Las Vegas keeps drinking. That is what $1.4 billion bought, a backup plan against the end of the system. The pumping station sits in an underground cave reached through a 500-foot deep shaft. 34 underwater pumps, the largest and deepest such setup in the world, can push 900 million gallons per day. The whole thing was finished in 2020, under budget. It was built as a worst-case backup. It is now at the center of the city's long-term survival planning. Above ground, Las Vegas runs what may be the most aggressive city water-saving program in American history. The Water Smart Landscapes Rebate Program pays residents $3 per square foot to swap grass for desert landscaping. Since 1999, more than 250 million square feet of turf has been pulled out. 7 square miles of grass, gone, saving an estimated 11 billion gallons per year. In 2021, Nevada became the first state in America to ban decorative grass by law. Assembly Bill 356 blocks the use of Colorado River water for watering useless turf, things like parking strips and office park lawns. Starting January 2027, 24 water waste inspectors patrol Las Vegas neighborhoods daily, handing out fines starting at $80 that double with every repeat. Per-person water use has dropped from 314 gallons per day in 2002 to 95 gallons in 2024, a 58% drop. The city uses less total Colorado River water now than at any point in 31 years, despite adding nearly 900,000 people. And then there is the return flow credit system, the trick that makes all of this math work. 99% of indoor water in Las Vegas gets collected, cleaned, and piped back into Lake Mead through the Las Vegas Wash. Every gallon returned earns a credit against Nevada's share. The city is only charged for water it actually loses to drying out and outdoor soaking. Without the return flow credits approach, Vegas could not exist. The entire model depends on it. All of that, the tunnel, the grass bands, the water cops, the recycling loop, and Las Vegas still cannot close the gap. Because the problem is not Las Vegas. Las Vegas accounts for less than 2% of Colorado River use. The problem is the river. This is where the plans get uncomfortable. For 3 decades, from 1989 to 2020, the Southern Nevada Water Authority chased a plan to pump groundwater from Spring Valley, Cave Valley, Dry Lake Valley, and Delamar Valley in rural eastern Nevada and pipe it 250 miles to Las Vegas. Estimated cost, $15 billion. 44 wells, 250 miles of pipeline, 200 miles of power lines, 4 pumping stations. 4th-generation Snake Valley rancher Dean Baker put up a 20-foot metal sign on his property that read, Southern Nevada Water Authority Pipeline equals $15 billion. Water grab will bleed Las Vegas ratepayers and eastern Nevada dry. Ranchers, the Ely Shoshone and Gashute tribes, rural county governments, green groups, and the Mormon Church, which runs a cattle ranch in Spring Valley, formed the Great Basin Water Network and fought the project for 30 years. Southern Nevada Water Authority lost 7 court battles in a row. In May 2020, The board shelved the project and wrote off $330 million in wasted spending. But Southern Nevada Water Authority still holds some of those water rights claims. The fight, as far as the Great Basin Water Network is concerned, is not over. The plan that is actually moving forward is quieter and more clever. Southern Nevada Water Authority put up $750 million for the Pure Water Southern California project, a water treatment plant that will produce 150 million gallons of recycled water per day. The swap works like this. California uses the Southern Nevada Water Authority funded recycled water locally. In return, California leaves the same amount of its Colorado River water in Lake Mead for Nevada to take. No pipeline between the two cities needed. Just a paper trade backed by $750 million. Southern Nevada Water Authority also has roughly 600,000 acre-feet of water stored underground in Arizona, put there since 2004 at a cost of roughly $100 million upfront, plus $23 million per year. When needed, Nevada draws from Lake Mead while Arizona pulls the same amount from its groundwater. It is an emergency stash, roughly 117 billion gallons sitting under the Arizona desert with Nevada's name on it. Then there are the ideas that keep getting pitched and keep not happening. A 1,000-mile pipeline from the Mississippi River, a concept that former Southern Nevada Water Authority General Manager Pat Mulroy pushed for years. The estimated price tag sits at $14 billion with a 30-year build time. Water policy experts have tossed it aside as a fantasy that lets people dodge the real problem. A $5.5 billion salt removal plant at Puerto Penasco, Mexico, with a 200-mile pipeline to Phoenix. Worries about the Sea of Cortez and the huge energy costs of filtering seawater have slowed it down. Cloud seeding over 6 mountain ranges, funded at roughly $1.5 million a year, adding maybe 5 to 15% more snowfall from storms that were already forming. Helpful around the edges. Not an answer. None of these plans, alone or together, closes a built-in shortage of 4 million acre-feet per year on a river that is not actually in a drought at all. It is drying out for good. Tree ring data going back to 800 Common Era confirms that the period from 2000 to 2021 was the driest 22-year stretch in at least 1,200 years. And 42% of that dryness traces straight to human-driven climate change. The difference between drought and permanent drying matters hugely. Drought means things eventually go back to normal. Permanent drying does not. The rain is not coming back, the snow is not coming back, the river is shrinking for good. Every degree of warming cuts Colorado River flows by 3 to 5%. The basin has already warmed faster than almost anywhere else in the lower 48 states. Flow forecasts point to a 20 to 35% drop by 2050. The river is not coming back to the amounts that the 1922 deal assumed. Those amounts never existed in the first place, which brings everything to October 1st, 2026. That is when the current rules for the Colorado River run out. New rules must be in place by that date. As of right now, 7 states have missed 2 federal deadlines, November 2025 and February 2026, without reaching any agreement. A draft study released in January 2026 looked at 5 options for the river's future. No preferred choice was picked. The lower basin states, Arizona, California, and Nevada, have offered 1.5 million acre-feet per year in combined cuts. They say they have done their part. The upper basin states, Colorado, Utah, Wyoming, and New Mexico, push back that nature already forces cuts on them through shrinking snowpack. Colorado's stance is that the upper basin is being asked to fix a problem it did not cause with water it does not have. Meanwhile, 30 tribal nations hold about 1/5 of all the oldest Colorado River water rights, including some of the first claims ever filed on the system. Yet roughly 48% of tribal homes still lack steady water access. The Navajo Nation, whose water rights deal has still not been fully funded by Congress, has communities where families drive hours to haul water in plastic barrels. About 1/3 of homes on the Navajo Nation still have no running water. The new rules are expected to control the river for roughly 20 years through 2046. Current models show Lake Mead possibly reaching a new record low by late 2027. The built-in shortage needs immediate cuts of 2.4 to 3.4 million acre-feet per year just to steady the system, with further cuts needed for climate effects through mid-century. The federal government has made clear it will force through its own plan if the states cannot agree. The threat of Washington stepping in on its own, or Supreme Court lawsuits, sits behind every round of talks. Pat Mulroy ran Southern Nevada Water Authority for 23 years and built much of the water system that keeps Las Vegas alive today. She spent her career warning that this moment was coming, and the warning was always the same. There will not be winners and losers on the Colorado River. If there is a collapse, it will hit the whole system at once. Everyone will be affected. Everyone will be hurt. As of this week, Lake Mead continues to drop. The October deadline is not moving, and 40 million people are still waiting for 7 states to agree on something they have been unable to agree on for 4 years. The longest-running water fight in American history has 6 months left on the clock, and nobody at the table is willing to go first.